What if I told you that some of the biggest problems in your life have never actually existed? Not because they disappeared, but because they were created entirely inside your mind before reality ever had a chance to speak. Think about that for a moment. How many conversations have you replayed before they even happened? How many disasters have you imagined that never became real? And how much energy have you spent fighting battles that existed only in your imagination? Your brain is incredibly intelligent, but sometimes its greatest strength becomes its greatest weakness. The same mind that helps you plan for tomorrow can also trap you in endless, what-if, scenarios that steal today's peace. The strange part is that your brain isn't trying to make you anxious. It's actually trying to protect you. Thousands of years ago, survival depended on anticipating danger before it arrived. If our ancestors heard rustling in the bushes, assuming it was a predator instead of the wind increased their chances of staying alive. A false alarm was inconvenient. Missing a real threat could be fatal. Your brain still operates with much of that ancient programming. The problem is that modern life rarely presents life-or-death dangers. Instead, your brain treats emails, awkward conversations, job interviews, relationships, financial decisions, and social situations as if they were tigers hiding in the grass. It begins predicting every possible negative outcome, convincing you that preparing for disaster is the safest strategy. But something fascinating happens during this process. Your brain doesn't always distinguish between vividly imagined threats and real experiences. Have you ever noticed your heart racing before giving a presentation? Maybe your hands became sweaty hours before stepping onto a stage. Nothing dangerous had happened yet, but your body was already reacting as though the event were happening right now. That's because your nervous system responds more to what your brain believes than to what reality is actually showing you. Imagine receiving a message that simply says, "We need to talk." Immediately, your mind starts writing an entire movie. Maybe you're in trouble. Maybe someone is upset. Maybe something terrible happened. Within minutes you've created 10 different stories, each worse than the last. Then you finally have the conversation, and it turns out the person simply wanted to ask your opinion about something completely ordinary. The suffering happened long before reality arrived. This is one of the brain's favorite habits. It fills uncertainty with fear. Your brain dislikes unanswered questions. It craves certainty because certainty feels safe. Whenever information is missing, your imagination rushes in to complete the picture. Unfortunately, our imagination often has a negativity bias. Psychologists have long observed that negative possibilities tend to grab our attention more powerfully than positive ones. From an evolutionary perspective, that makes sense. Missing an opportunity is disappointing. Missing a threat can be dangerous. So your brain naturally overestimates problems and underestimates your ability to handle them. Think about how often you've worried before traveling. What if the flight gets cancelled? What if I forget something important? What if I get lost? What if everything goes wrong? Then you complete the trip, and almost everything unfolds normally. The mind spent days preparing for disasters that never arrived. Here's another interesting pattern. The more emotionally important something is, the more your brain invents possible problems. You care deeply about a relationship. Suddenly your mind starts asking, what if they stop loving me? What if I say the wrong thing? What if I'm not enough? You care deeply about your career. Then come thoughts like, what if I fail? What if everyone realizes I'm not as capable as they think? What if I lose everything I've worked for? Notice something. The fear isn't proof that something bad is coming. It's often proof that something matters to you. That's a very different interpretation. Many people mistake anxiety for intuition. They assume that because they feel afraid, something terrible must be about to happen. But emotions are not crystal balls. Fear is designed to prepare you, not necessarily to predict reality. Imagine standing at the edge of a swimming pool after years without swimming. Your heart beats faster. Your brain whispers that jumping in might be dangerous. Then you step into the water, and within minutes you remember exactly how to swim. The fear wasn't lying. It simply overestimated the threat. This happens constantly in everyday life. Before difficult conversations. Before first dates. Before interviews. Before presentations. Before making big decisions. Our brains often predict unbearable discomfort, yet once we're actually living the experience, we discover we're far more capable than we imagined. One reason this cycle continues is because the brain rarely updates its predictions. Think back to something you spent weeks worrying about 6 months ago. Can you even remember what it was? Many people can't. The brain sounds an alarm. Reality quietly proves the alarm unnecessary. Then the brain forgets the lesson and creates a brand new alarm next week. It's almost like having an overprotective friend who constantly says, "Be careful," even when you're simply walking across your living room. At first you appreciate their concern. Eventually you realize they're warning you about dangers that aren't actually there. There's another hidden cost to imagined problems. Every minute spent mentally living in a future catastrophe is a minute stolen from the present. Your body sits in today's reality while your mind lives inside tomorrow's fictional disaster. You miss conversations because you're rehearsing arguments. You miss beautiful sunsets because you're calculating worst-case scenarios. You miss moments of laughter because you're mentally solving problems that don't exist yet. Ironically, trying to protect yourself from future pain often creates pain in the present. And that's a trade your brain makes without asking for your permission. Something else happens when we repeatedly imagine negative futures. Our confidence quietly shrinks. If every challenge becomes a catastrophe inside your imagination, eventually you begin believing you're fragile. You stop trusting your own resilience. Yet if you look honestly at your life, you've probably survived situations you once believed would destroy you. Heartbreak. Failure. Rejection. Embarrassment. Unexpected change. At the time, they felt overwhelming. But here you are. Still breathing. Still learning. Still moving forward. Your past contains evidence that your future self is far more resilient than your anxious mind gives you credit for. Here's a simple question worth asking whenever your mind creates another frightening scenario. Is this happening right now? Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not next year. Right now. Most of the time, the honest answer is no. That single realization creates space between you and your thoughts. You begin seeing them as mental predictions rather than objective facts. Imagine watching clouds drift across the sky. You don't chase every cloud. You don't believe every shape it forms. You simply notice it passing by. Thoughts can work the same way. Not every thought deserves your belief. Not every fear deserves your attention. Your brain produces thousands of thoughts every day. Many contradict each other. Some are brilliant. Some are ridiculous. Learning to observe your thoughts without immediately believing them may be one of the most freeing skills a person can develop. That doesn't mean ignoring real problems. Real problems deserve thoughtful action. Imaginary problems deserve perspective. There's an important difference. If your car breaks down, that's a real problem. If you spend 3 months imagining your car breaking down every single day, that's an imaginary problem consuming real emotional energy. One situation requires solutions. The other requires awareness. Sometimes the best question isn't, "How do I stop worrying?" Instead ask, "What is my brain trying to protect me from?" Often beneath anxiety lies something surprisingly human. The desire to belong. The desire to succeed. The desire to avoid rejection. The desire to protect the people we love. When you recognize the deeper need beneath the fear often loses some of its power. Instead of fighting your brain, you begin understanding it. Your brain isn't your enemy. It's simply using an outdated survival strategy in a world that has changed faster than evolution. It still believes constant vigilance equals safety. But modern life often rewards flexibility more than constant fear. The people who appear calm aren't necessarily those with fewer problems. Often they're people who have learned not to believe every alarming story their minds create. They understand that uncertainty isn't automatically danger. It's simply uncertainty. And uncertainty contains possibilities in every direction, not just negative ones. Think about all the wonderful moments in your life that your brain never predicted. Unexpected friendships. Surprising opportunities. Conversations that changed everything. Acts of kindness from strangers. Beautiful mornings you didn't see coming. Life has always been more creative than your fears. Your anxious mind predicts only a narrow range of possibilities, usually the darkest ones. Reality contains infinitely more outcomes than anxiety can imagine. Perhaps that's why so many people look back at difficult chapters of their lives and realize the thing they feared most never happened. Or if it did happen, it led them somewhere unexpectedly meaningful. The future has a way of surprising us. Usually not in the ways our anxiety predicts. So the next time your brain begins constructing another elaborate disaster, pause for just a moment. Smile at it. Not because the fear feels pleasant, but because you recognize what's happening. Your ancient brain is trying to keep you safe. It deserves gratitude for its effort. But it doesn't deserve complete control over your life. You can acknowledge the warning without surrendering to it. You can prepare without panicking. You can plan without catastrophizing. Most importantly, you can remember that thoughts are not prophecies. They are possibilities. And possibilities are never guarantees. Every day you have a choice. You can spend today's peace paying for tomorrow's imaginary problems. Or you can invest today's attention in the only place life is actually happening. Right here. Right now. Because in the end, the greatest freedom isn't eliminating uncertainty. It's learning that you are stronger than the stories your mind creates when certainty disappears. If this helped you understand your mind better, subscribe for more videos like this.